The US Army calls it a technological miracle, a masterpiece of modern engineering designed to dominate the 21st century battlefield. But if you are the one strapped into the seat, you know a truth the recruitment posters never mention. It's a trillion-dollar lie. In the world of high-stakes land warfare, you aren't just a soldier. You are a biological component in an engineering abomination that physics rejected, but violence made necessary. When the first prototypes were unveiled, the Pentagon's elite didn't cheer. They laughed. They called it a patchwork beast, a hopeless diamond stitched together from the scraps of a dying era. They claimed this 70-ton monster was too heavy to move, too jagged to hide, and too complex to survive the primitive mud of a real war. But in the zero zone, being underestimated is the ultimate weapon. Today we are going to peel back the layers of classified steel. You are about to experience a descent through a hierarchy of survival where every rank is a high-stakes gamble against the laws of nature. This is not a story about a machine. This is a story about the cost of trying to outsmart reality. At rank 1, you aren't a warrior. You are the fuel for the monster. You are the component that keeps the machine breathing in a world that refuses to recognize your existence. If you are the driver, your world is a dark, toxic box of metal. Unlike any civilian vehicle, you don't sit upright. You are reclined, almost lying down, feeling the raw, brute force mathematics of a 1,500 horsepower Honeywell AGT 1500 gas turbine engine roaring just inches from your spine. The crews call it the demon in the box. It doesn't sound like a tank. It sounds like a jet engine trying to tear its way out of a steel cage. The experts mocked this position. They called it a suicide seat. They argued that no human could maintain the cognitive focus needed to balance a 70-ton kitchen table on a pinhead while traveling at 45 miles per hour through a landscape of fire. But this is where technological injustice begins. You live in a state of constant war between the sophisticated software of the machine and a physical shape that gravity hates. Every bump is a calculation. Every turn is a risk of flipping a billion-dollar asset. But move a few feet away and the world becomes even more primitive. If you are the loader, your existence is a contradiction. You are the manual labor inside a high-tech ghost. While the world talks about smart bombs and AI-driven warfare, you are slamming 50-pound depleted uranium shells into a breach while the turret spins in a violent dance of hydraulics and ozone. The air you breathe is a nightmare. You work with materials that the EPA would classify as a disaster, depleted uranium armor and hydraulic fluids that burn with an invisible flame. The impossible monster only stays level because 4 independent digital computers are fighting every microsecond to correct your path. Without them, this 70-ton beast would simply tumble out of the mission like a falling brick. You are the hopeless diamond of the crew. Unstable, desperate, and waiting for the moment the world stops laughing and starts screaming. Congratulations! You've survived the mud, the toxic fumes, and the crushing claustrophobia of the lower hull. You have moved up. You are no longer just the fuel for the monster. You are now the system architect of its violence. When this vehicle was in development, the experts in the air-conditioned offices of the Pentagon mocked its firing system. They said it was too complex for a human to master under fire, that the digital lag would be a death sentence, and that the optics would fail at the first sign of desert dust. They laughed until the first combat zone proved that they were the true amateurs. As a gunner, your life is now a cold, mathematical certainty of destruction. Through your thermal optics, the world transforms into a pixelated abyss. Humans and enemy armor are no longer threats. They are just heat signatures waiting to be deleted from reality. This is the peak of technological injustice. You don't fight fair. You don't even engage in what history would call a battle. You select Alvos with a cold mathematical indifference, pulling the trigger from miles away while your enemies are still staring at a blank horizon. They are unaware that a 70-ton ghost has already decided their fate. But this God mode comes with a price that the recruitment posters never mention. You are operating a billion-dollar glasshouse. To maintain your untouchable status, you are surrounded by a volatile mix of high-end electronics and classified, incredibly fragile materials. This machine requires 30 hours of maintenance for every single hour of combat. You have traded your speed and your safety for a single, terrifying advantage: being invisible until the exact moment you strike. You are a sniper in a room full of blind men, but you live with the constant, gnawing knowledge. If the lights ever come back on, the monster becomes the prey. You've reached the top. You are the tank commander. You are no longer just a component. You are the brain of an abomination that physics rejected. You operate in the zero zone, where high-level strategy meets raw biological fear. But this is where the trillion-dollar lie finally catches up to you. The Pentagon's elite, the same ones who once mocked the prototype, grew drunk on its success. They started selling the world the myth of the absolute monster, an invincible ghost that was immune to the laws of war. But as a commander, you know the terrifying truth. Every monster has a pulse, and it can be stopped. The greatest threat at rank 3 isn't a faster enemy tank or a more advanced drone. It's complacency. Like the F-1 A-17 Nighthawk over the skies of Serbia, the impossible monster finally bleeds when the humans behind it grow arrogant. When you believe your own recruitment posters, you become predictable. You fly the same routes, you park in the same spots, and you forget that your billion-dollar glasshouse is only invisible as long as you respect the enemy's desperation. One ancient, Soviet-era missile, technology that the experts dismissed as peasant equipment, is all it takes to prove that your absolute monster is just a hole in reality waiting to be closed. At the exact moment you believe you are untouchable, the myth is shattered. You become as visible as a glowing beacon in a dark room. One moment of human arrogance, and 70 tons of military pride tumbles into 1,000 pieces of burning scrap in the mud. But even the absolute monster you command today is just a primitive ancestor. We are entering the era of the invisible machine. The experts who once mocked the patchwork beast are now building something even more terrifying. 6th-generation predators that have finally removed the most volatile, fragile, and unpredictable component from the cockpit: the human. We are removing the soul, and with it, the fear. The sky and the earth no longer belong to the hero. They belong to the cold, the autonomous, and the jagged edges of a mathematical anomaly that doesn't feel complacency. So the question remains: was the monster a triumph of our will, or a final warning that we are no longer necessary in our own wars? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Pilot or Team Ghost? If you're ready for the truth about the machines redefining our reality, hit like and subscribe. The king is dead, but its ghost is just getting started.